in this lesson we're going to talk about how to create a Renaissance style painting in the techniques of the old masters. We will begin with our charcoal sketch, and then we will paint the outer edges dark and have it slowly fade to light towards the center. We've done a vignette in the background using burnt sienna, white, and black. We've lost some of the edges of our shapes, which is fine. I will take the soft fine charcoal and draw our forms back in again very lightly. But I do want to think about the cast shadows. Where are the cast shadows on the picture? Those are the shadows that lay on the table. There's a cast shadow back here on the vase. And the shadows mimic the shape of the objects. Let's also draw in the lines for the top of the table. I have that edge, and I have this edge. On the bottom there's a nice strong edge, and this is a very important part of that picture. The diagonal is dynamic in a composition, so these lines for the top of the table become very important. So let's not forget to put the tabletop in. We don't want our objects to appear as if they're floating. Okay, getting out the basic forms chart for reference. We have the light coming from this side, just like in the still life. Our light is coming from this side. And let's start with the vase. About a 1-inch flat brush. I'm going to mix together, I have the light, my light, which is a mixture of the burnt sienna and the white. I have a little bit of a darker going towards the medium. Then I have the straight burnt sienna, which makes a beautiful medium color. I'm going to take some of the burnt sienna, put it over here, and mix it with some of that black and create a dark, a nice dark, dark, dark. So already on my palette I have light, medium to dark. I'm going to work dark to light for each section. The old masters, their rule of thumb was to work dark to light. So let's do that, and it's a way to think about the shadows and the forms. I have the dark on this side because the light is coming from here. And this dark is going to follow down the edge of the vase. This nice rich brownish black. Dark continues all the way down the edge of the object. And imagine there's a dark edge right on the bottom lip. On the bottom lip of the object will be a dark. The inside of the opening will be dark on the opposite, because we have the light is coming from here. It's hitting the vase on this side, but it's hitting the inside of the vase over on this edge. For the medium, I'm going to use straight burnt sienna. It's a beautiful color. It's rich. It has a warm orangish glow, and it adds a lot of life and warmth to a painting. Burnt sienna is what we see so much in Rembrandt and Vermeer and the artists of the Renaissance. So we have the medium, and you see I'm just feathering it right into the dark and putting it on thick and loose and blending it wet on wet. And notice I'm not taking the dark all the way to the edge. I'm leaving a little bit of an edge on the dark side. That will be for the reflected light. Next I'm going to take my light, which will be this value, and I'm going to apply it to the lightest side of the picture. I want to cover up those charcoal lines. I'm going to paint right on top of the charcoal. If some of it doesn't get covered up, you can wipe it off with a rag, so don't worry about the charcoal. I'm going to put the light down this side of the object. And then I'm going to take a clean, damp brush, and I'm going to blend these together quickly before the paint dries. I'm just moving fast with loose strokes, not being afraid to put the paint on thick. We don't want any of the white canvas showing through. Remember, with acrylic paints, on a dry day it can dry as quickly as 3 minutes. If it's moisture in the air, you might have 5 or 6 minutes. So we have to work quickly. We have to put the paint on thick so it's got a little substance to it, and then we can push it around on the canvas. But notice I'm continually wiping off my brush. Okay, now we have this reflected light, which is the light that's coming like this, hitting the table, bouncing back up, and hitting this outer edge. And I'm thinking about the shape of the vase. The vase is rounded, so I want my brush strokes to be rounded, following the form of the vase. The strokes should follow the form to a great extent. Chiaroscuro, that's the Italian word for light on form. And at this aspect of the painting, we're thinking about the light and the shadow. This is a value study. So the Renaissance masters started their paintings with the value study, and that way they were able to figure out the lights and the darks first, problem solve that whole part of the painting, make sure it works, like what we would think of as a black and white photograph or a sepia tone photograph. Make sure that it works in that way before going on to the color. Many times when we're painting, we get so lost in all the beautiful colors that we lose our sense of light and dark. And we think, what's wrong with my painting? It just doesn't look right. So the Renaissance masters, in their brilliance, decided to separate color and value. And they decided to do the value study first. My dark, which is a mixture of burnt sienna and black. And I'm going to run that dark all along the edge of the pear. And remember, it's sitting on something. It's sitting. There's usually a shadow near the bottom of the object. So let's remember that these objects have weight. They have form. They're not floating. We want to have them look as if they're actually sitting on the table. Often there's a little dark edge. I'm going to go for the medium, which is my burnt sienna. Lay that in. I'm using 1/4 inch beveled edge brush. Take some of my light, a mixture of burnt sienna and white, and go all down the edge of the object that is lightest, right where the light is hitting. Let's feel the light. Now I see that I'm blending in a lot with my tablecloth. I'm not going to worry about that because I know that there's a shadow behind this pear. Then I want to do the reflected light. I'm going to grab some of the medium and go on this back edge away from the light with the burnt sienna. The reflected light will be whatever color the tablecloth is. So if I have a green tablecloth, that reflected light is going to be green. If I had a blue tablecloth, the reflected light will be blue. You have a very small window of time before it dries, so make good use of that and try to have your colors all mixed on your palette so that you can just jump right in there and start working. There's lots of elements that we have to attend to, and we will, one step at a time. A painting is done in layers. This is the underpainting. This is a traditional brown underpainting in the style of the Renaissance masters. And we're using the colors that the Renaissance masters used. Although they probably didn't have a commercial black, they had a burnt umber, which was a very dark, dark color that they would mix with their burnt sienna to create their darkest darks. Okay, I have the dark part of the apple. So we're thinking about the values. Where's the light? Where's the dark? And when we have two objects touch each other, we want to be very aware of which one's lighter and which one's darker. These are things to be conscious of. Because I want my pear to be lighter, I'm going to lighten the edge of the pear a little bit. Lay in my burnt sienna as the medium, nice and thick and rich. We don't want to skimp on the paint. We want to be able to see the brushwork. When you can see the movement of the paint and you can see the movement of the brush, this is called painterly. And when a painting has that quality, it's considered a very good painting. So let's try to get a painterly look. Okay, getting into the lighter parts of the apple. Again, I'm following my basic forms chart: light, medium, dark, reflected light. And we have yet to do the highlights and the cast shadow. On top of this, we're going to have color. Get the edge on the apple nice and bright. We can feel that the sun is hitting everything from this direction. Leave the brush strokes. Let the brush strokes show. There's going to be many more layers on top of this. Those underlying brush strokes will give a beautiful richness if we leave them. I take, again, this 1/4 inch brush. I like this size. I find that bevel on a brush is very easy to use. It's helpful in many ways. Get a nice clean brush. I'm going to go with my straight white, and I'm going to lay in some highlights, which is right where the light is hitting the objects. There's a nice bright highlight on this edge. Now a shiny object, a metal object, is going to have stronger, brighter highlights. Something like fabric will have a soft, muted highlight. And, of course, we're going to need highlights on the pear. Let's follow the highlights. The highlights are going to follow the shape of the form because it's round on this part of the pear. We have round highlights. The cast shadows are the shadows that are thrown away from the light and are laying on the table. Get a little bit of a bigger brush. I'm going to use this brush. And I'm going to start with my darkest color, which is that black mixed with the burnt sienna. The shadow is darkest when it's closest to the object. After finishing the cast shadows, I put in a few more details, and here we have the finished underpainting, and we're ready to apply the color glazes.